Okay, welcome back, guys. It is Mr. Citro, still here, Monday, week 8. Um, Most of you have probably heard the news. We will not be returning this year. I would like to discuss that today and Thursday when we do our Google Meets, a little bit about how the rest of the year is going to look like. Anyway, here is a quick video. I'm going to split it into two portions so that it's not so long. One for 8.10 and one for 8.11. And we'll cover air masses and fronts. So most of today and this week is going to focus on large masses of air that move into an area. And when that happens, it can change the temperature. And as we learned last week, a change in temperature can often result in an increase or a decrease in humidity. Now, for most fronts and air masses, we see some rain at some point, and that is because warm air rises. It is less dense, and when warm air rises, it begins to cool. It meets the dew point, condenses, forms clouds. So that's the key for what causes rain. We need warm air to rise, or air to be pushed up and cool. When that air cools down, it meets the dew point and therefore increases humidity. So an air mass is an immense body of air. It has characteristics based on a geographic region. We call that region the source region. For example, here we see polar air masses moving from Canada down. That is because Canada tends to have colder temperatures than places down near the equator, where we have more tropical air masses. So tropical relates to warm air, polar relates to cold air. So air masses are classified based on temperature and moisture. Okay, this first portion is talking about moisture, how much humidity or how much water vapor is in the air. Maritime means it develops over water. Maritime, high humidity, damp, wet, moist. Continental develops over the land, meaning it's dry. So maritime, wet, continental, dry. The second one is temperature. Polar, meaning it developed over high latitudes, so it's colder air, where tropical tends to develop near the equator, and it's warm air. So if we look at this, we see a lot of different types, and we can have maritime polar or continental polar. So maritime polar, wet, cold air. Continental polar, dry, cold air. Continental tropical, continental meaning dry, tropical meaning damp or wet. Maritime tropical, maritime meaning wet, tropical meaning warm. Okay, so continental tropical, I believe I said damp here. Continental meaning dry, tropical warm. Maritime wet, damp, high humidity. Tropical meaning warm. I'm going to ask you to do your best to fill these in. I'm going to skip ahead here quick. And most of our weather moves through the jet stream, which is the prevailing type of winds. And we see these winds pushing all weather from the west coast, California, to the east coast. Those are our prevailing winds. We don't have an air masses worksheet. I will make sure I delete that on the agenda. I'm going to sign off for now, and I'll make another video for 8.11 or 8.11. Yes, buddy.
If there's any ice pops down here.
There might be some ice pops down here. You'd have to check on the. Sure. 1 second.